Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show. I'm Skip, I am a happy camper. And yes, my friends, we are going to make a happy camper out of you. Hope you're all enjoying this beautiful spring weather we've got. Summer temperatures are going to be just as entertaining and just as enjoyable. And I hope to see you out there in the camping world sometime soon. Hey, this week on the show, I have a very interesting topic for you, and it might send some chills up some camper's spine, but it's something that I think we need to talk about. You know, we don't like camping when there are bugs and mosquitoes and ants at the picnic. At the same time, we don't like camping around snakes. How many of you have ever had an encounter with a snake while you were camping? We're going to talk about it on today's show. Hey, our phone number here is 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. A lot of ways to connect up with the Happy Camper Radio Show, and you can find all of our social media icons right there on our homepage at www.happycamperradio.com. Let's sneak over to the shout-out window because we had some folks sign up this past week on social media. First of all, let's say hello to Honey Boy Jim of South Australia, a man who loves to play the guitar. Also, to the DeVoe family. DeVoe's on the roll. They like us on Facebook. To Jane Santangolo, Townsend Travel Trailers of Santa Barbara, California. Derek Curry, the fine folks at Jellystone Park in Elmer, New Jersey, and to Stephen Hayes of Brisbane, Australia. They're all following us on Twitter. Finally, to Matthew Allen of Grand Rapids, Michigan, who added us to Circles this past week on Google+. Thank you all so very much for joining us and being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Hey, last week I mentioned that in the coming weeks, I'm going to be identifying a weekend that I will be camped out at Georgia's Stone Mountain Park. For those of you who live in and around the metro Atlanta area and listen to our show, this will be an excellent opportunity for you to go ahead and make your reservations that week that I am going to be camping there. I have not nailed down the dates yet. I am looking at a few, and as soon as I have them nailed in stone and make my reservations, I will go ahead and post an announcement on social media as well as here on the show. And it would be great if you could come join us that week. If you're traveling in from out of state, Georgia Stone Mountain Park is absolutely beautiful, and you can go camping there year-round. I like going, just driving by the park anytime I take my kids for a dinner, a Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, because we don't do anything around the house anymore. I mean, the cooking all day long and the struggling in the kitchen, that's in years gone by. But what I really enjoy doing is taking my kids over there to one of the fine resorts that they have for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. And every time we drive by the park, there are folks camped out there during the holidays. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's a beautiful family camping environment. I try to go over there at least a couple times a year, but this particular year, I'm going to plan in advance. And if you'd like to come join us, I will be doing my radio show right from the campsite. So that's coming up here. Be listening out for those days. And if you happen to be living in and about the metro Atlanta area or passing on through that weekend, feel free to stop by and join us. I'd love to have you, love to meet you, and have you on the program. Hey, if you have some camping equipment that you're interested in purchasing, say if you don't have a camping supply store anywhere nearby and you would like to make your purchases online, go to our homepage, www.happycamperradio.com. We have signed up as affiliates with a number of great companies, and you can do your shopping right there online, right from the comforts of your very own home. It doesn't matter if it's something big, something small. your chances are you're going to find anything today online, and you can make your purchases convenient and secure right from the comforts of your very own home and have your product delivered right to your doorstep. And anytime that you make a purchase of camping equipment using happycamperradio.com and clicking on one of the links, you are helping to support this great Happy Camper Radio experience. All right, camping with snakes. Here we go, folks. How many of you feel comfortable camping in snake country? Well, what is snake country for that matter? Just about anywhere you go outside of your home, when you're entering the wilderness, when you're entering the outside world, you are camping in areas where there may or may not be snakes. Do you feel comfortable encountering a snake? Do they bother you? Your chances of encountering a snake, folks, let me start by saying this. It's going to be very rare if you are camping in a public or a private campground environment that you will come across a snake. Snakes very rarely enter developed areas. In all my years of camping, and I have been camping for quite a few years, folks. I have been out there and about, and I only had a small handful experiences with snakes. In fact, the number of encounters that I have had with snakes over the years while camping, you can count on one hand. All right, that's just how rare it's going to be for you to encounter a snake while you are camping in a private or a public campground environment. Now, would it be enough for anybody in your family or anybody in your camping party to look at a snake and turn around and say, that's it, time to pack the bags, time to go home? Some people are like that. Some people just cringe at the thought of a snake entering their campground environment, or coming across a snake while they're maybe out walking about here and there or hiking on the trail. One thing you don't want to do, folks, and especially if you've got small kids, if you're planning on a camping trip and you've got everything packed, it's already by the door, your shopping is already done, and you know first thing in the morning after a good night's sleep, you're going to load everything up and you're going to be on your way. Don't sit down in the comforts of your living room and watch a movie like Anaconda, all right, because you're going to turn the kids off. The kids are not going to want to go camping. They're going to want to do something else, all right, but some people do that. Don't do that if you have young kids. Definitely don't do it if you know somebody in your camping party does not like snakes. In fact, it's a subject you probably want to avoid altogether. But the fact remains, when you are camping, when you are in the outside world, snakes are unavoidable. They're going to be there. They may be in close proximity to where you are camping. They may be a mile away. They may be just around the corner, and you just may not see them. All right, but they are there. They're not going to leave the area simply because you decided to go camping that weekend and enter their environment. Now, the best thing for you to do if you come across a snake, regardless if you are comfortable being around them or if you rather not be around them or even look at them, the best thing for you to do is leave them alone. Don't bother them at all, okay? Snakes are not going to become aggressive unless they are provoked. I can remember a few years back while camping up in the North Georgia mountains. Generally, we have a bunch of folks that get together that weekend. I've camped there by myself before, but I like having the fellowship. I like having a lot of friends around me and folks that I haven't seen in a long time because it's a great atmosphere and it allows a lot of us to catch up on some things we haven't talked about over an extended period of time. But anyway, we had some folks show up that weekend that I didn't know. They were friends of somebody else in the camping party, and they had a couple of youngsters there that just couldn't sit still. They just weren't into sitting around the fire and hanging out with the adults, and I can understand that. You want to get out, you want to do your own thing, you want to go exploring. Well, they did that. There's a trail that goes back into the camp. It's actually an old forest road. It's not used all that often, but they decided to go ahead and take that road out and just do a little bit of exploring and maybe walk out to the main road. I don't know exactly where they were going, but I do know the fact that along the way, and this is after we've been in the camp maybe 2 or 3 days. A lot of us we get in there and stay put. We don't go out. But they were walking down this old forest trail, and they came across a non-poisonous black snake in the middle of the road. Now, being these youngsters, inquisitive as they are, they decided, no, they just got to mess with this snake. They couldn't walk around it. They couldn't leave it alone. They couldn't go up the hillside and come back down on the road just so they could leave the snake be. They had to start messing with that snake. One of them, I remember, came in back to camp, and he was showing his injury because what ended up happening is they started playing around with this snake, and one of them grabbed the tail and it was swinging it back and forth, and that snake turned around and came up and bit the young man on the thumb. Well, that's what you get. Good for you. I hate to say that, but, chances are if you're going to mess with an animal, if you're going to mess with a reptile, you're going to mess with a creature that doesn't want to be messed with, chances are you're going to get bit. And that's exactly what happened in this case. You're going to find that many snakes, when they are out there on the road or out there on the hiking trail, and they are right in the middle of the trail, they're going to be out there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to soak up some sun. Truthfully, they'd rather be left alone. You're going to find that most snake encounters are going to be non-poisonous snakes. They're going to be snakes that are not going to inflict any venom if they do bite. And hey, I'll tell you this much. Here I am, as old as I am. I have never in my life handled a snake. I have never came real close to a snake to the point where that snake could have reached up and bit me, either on the arm or the leg. I keep my distance. I don't care what type of snake it is, big or small, or, I've seen snakes in the zoo. I prefer not being around them. I do understand that they are there. There's a possibility that I'm going to have an encounter each and every time that I go camping, but I don't let that stand in my way, and I don't let that bother me, and you shouldn't either. It's rare that you're going to find a snake wandering into your campsite. Again, like I said just a few minutes ago, if you're camping at a public or a private campground, most likely those developed areas that are frequented by humans are going to be avoided by the snakes. I can also say this, too. For the people who own private campgrounds especially, snakes are not good for business. I can promise you that if there are snakes, even something as little as a harmless garter snake, they are not going to be welcome at the campsite. They are not going to be welcome at the campground. And the staff is going to be on the lookout for those snakes on a regular basis and doing what they can to move them snakes out of there and keep them out of the area as best they possibly can. They do not need customers coming to their campground for the purpose of having fun and enjoying nature and enjoying what campers normally enjoy doing, only to have a snake come in and ruin everything. Remember, these campground owners and campground hosts, they want you to keep coming back. I am one who enjoys camping at a campsite more than once. If I find a campground that I like, especially if I find a site that is by a lake and one that offers plenty of shade and the temperatures are just right, most likely the next time I make a reservation, it's going to be at that campground and it's going to be at that campsite. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of campers that will do the same thing. Nobody wants to come to a campground and find out that there's going to be snakes there, and the snakes end up making people pack up and go home. Are they ever going to come back again? No, of course not. And of course, the campground owners don't want that. So they're going to do what they can to make sure that those areas are clean and free of snakes. As far as the ants and the insects and the bugs, hey, you're going to find that everywhere. It's going to be your job to make sure that you bring plenty of insect repellent, plenty of DEET, and especially during the summer months, for those of you who like to wear shorts. I'm not crazy about wearing shorts. Don't be a bit surprised if we run into each other at a campground and I'm wearing long pants. I don't like showing off my legs, not to the public, and definitely not to the bugs. All right, but that's just me. In any event, one thing you definitely want to do, and I don't care where you're camping, once you get camp set up, it's always a good practice to keep the tent zipped up. Keep your windows zipped up unless there are screens on them. And, of course, most of them do have screens. But even the door, the entranceway into your tent, keep that zipped up at all times. I'm not saying that it's likely that a snake is going to work his way into your tent and decide to call that home on your sleeping bag. All right, I'm not saying that, but it's also a good practice that you go ahead and keep that zipped up. And also, too, it definitely keeps the flies and the bugs out of there. I've always made sure that when I bought a tent, it had plenty of so-called natural air conditioning available to it. And that's, where I can open up all the windows. There are screens there, that there's a screen on the door. And I always make it a point to keep that tent zipped up, if not just like you like locking your door at home. You don't walk out the door and you leave your door open. Same purpose there when you're camping too. Keep your tent zipped up, and you'll keep those unwanted guests away. If you're out and about gathering firewood, here's an opportunity for you to run into a snake if you're not careful. And I tell people this all the time. I am one who purchases my camp firewood locally. If I am out of the area where, if it's not close to home, where I can bring firewood to the campsite, I'm not going to bring those pesky little insects that tend to make themselves at home inside the logs that are already cut and ready to be burned. I'm not going to take them out of the area and infest those areas with bugs that have never ventured into that part of the country before. Okay. If you want to know more about that, go to our website, happycamperradio.com. Look in the link section. You'll see one that says don'tmovefirewood.org. We talk about it all the time. It's always good for you to purchase your firewood locally. But if you're going to be cheap and you don't want to go ahead and spend that extra money, some people, if they are allowed to do it, will venture off into the woods and start gathering firewood there. This is an area where snakes are known to hang out. Snakes can be found in hollow logs. They can be found beneath the logs. And if you're not careful and you reach down there to pick up that log, you might be also hauling into camp somebody. You might be hauling in a guest you don't want to be in your campsite. And you may have an encounter right then and there when you go to pick that log up that you weren't counting on. Because snakes do hide out in places like hollow logs and sometimes beneath them if they can dig themselves a nice little nest. Okay, it's again why it's good to purchase your firewood locally. There are some jurisdictions that prohibit the removal of fallen trees in the woods, and you'll find them out there too. So there's another reason why you want to go ahead and get your firewood locally, and your chances are you're going to be getting good wood that's seasoned, it's ready to burn, and you're going to have plenty of it. I know when I go to camp, I am constantly by the fire, day and night. Granted, when the temperatures drop a little bit in the evening hours, and the fire just sets the mood just right. Right after dinner, everybody gathers by the fire, and they just talk up a storm until they tire out and they're ready to retire for the evening. But if you're one of those individuals, and I'm not trying to knock you or anything like that, if you do want to go out into the woods and you can legally do it and you can gather your firewood there, chances are there is a lot of dead wood on the forest floor that you can pick up and bring back to camp. Just always be careful this time of the year, especially when picking up trees and limbs that have fallen on the forest floor, because you don't want to have an encounter with a snake out there in the woods. If you are hiking and backpacking in snake country, all right, keep this in mind too. All right, you want to keep your eyes and ears open at all times. You want to stay focused on the trail. If by chance you come across a snake, please don't try to provoke it. Keep your distance, safely walk around it if you possibly can, and just move on. Anytime you're hiking, you need to be aware of your surroundings. This is so very important. One of the things many folks who have not studied snakes before don't understand, snakes are very sensitive to vibrations. They're going to know you're coming before that you even know that snake is there. As far as poisonous snakes goes, the common poisonous snakes are copperheads and rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes will give you that warning if you're approaching. You'll hear that rattle, and the second you sense that rattle, you need to stop where you are, look around, see where it's coming from. Hopefully, you're a good distance away. That's why I say anytime that you're on a hiking trail, and I don't hike all that often, did many years ago, it's always important for you to look down and look ahead while you are walking. I'm not saying, that's going to be the excitement of your entire hiking journey. Definitely you want to take in the sights and sounds, but you also want to be aware of where you are stepping, where you are walking, because the last thing you want to do is to step on a snake or one that's not going to give you any prior warning and end up getting bit. That's something you don't want. It's something nobody wants. All right. You also want to stay clear of large rocks that may be home to snakes. Anytime you're hiking, there's going to come a moment in time where you're going to want to sit down and rest. And if you find one of those big rocks to sit yourself down and maybe take in some water or some refreshments or anything, always stop to take a look around your environment and make sure that you're not going to sit down on a rock that is home to a snake. In some cases, if you know that you're going to be hiking in snake country, it wouldn't hurt for you to invest in some chaps or some snake boots. But again, I haven't hiked in a long time. I haven't backpacked in years. But if I started up again, I definitely would be mindful of snakes that may be on the hiking trail and snakes that I may come across from time to time while I'm out and about. Now let's talk about first aid for snakes. In the worst case scenario, if you get bit by a snake, the very first thing you want to do is stay calm and don't panic. Hopefully, you're going to have some folks on the hiking trail with you or somewhere you're out and about, someone who can pick up the phone and call 911. If you do get bit, definitely get away from the snake immediately. Don't try to capture the snake. Don't try to kill the snake. The experts will tell you that. Snakes can strike at a distance equal to about half of their body length, and they can bite more than once. So there are small snakes, there are big snakes. Keep your distance from the snake the minute you detect a snake is in your path or somewhere near you. If you do get bit, have someone get help immediately. Pick up the phone and call 911. Look for the obvious signs. Not all snake bites are going to be venomous. Not all snake bites are poisonous, but some of the obvious signs you can look for is severe burning pain, swelling around the bite area, discoloration, and blood-filled blisters. These are indications of a venomous snake. If you are with somebody who has been bitten by a snake, don't immediately try to identify the snake. All right, you want to try to keep the victim as calm as possible. Do not consume any alcoholic beverages. That's no good. Also, do not use a tourniquet. Many years ago, somebody would have said, well, put a tourniquet on and, slice open the bite wounds and try to suck the blood. They tell you don't do that anymore. Try to keep the affected limb below the victim's heart and seek medical attention immediately, even if there's no reaction. Don't try to play doctor if you're not experienced with snakes, if you're not sure of the type of snake that may have bitten somebody. It's better to be safe than sorry. Pick up the phone, call 911, get medical attention immediately. This is another reason, folks, why I say it is so important to have a fully charged cell phone with you anytime you're camping. Forget what I've said before, and in this instance anyway, about having electronic items with you at camp. Yes, I carry my cell phone with me. I don't use it. I stay away from it. I prefer keeping it turned off and in the truck when I am camping. I have no need for it. But in the event I decided to venture away from camp, you never know what may or may not happen. You could fall and break a leg. You may come across somebody that needs medical emergency that do not have cell phones with them, and you may have the cell phone handy, and you could pick up that phone and call 911. All right, so yes, cell phones do come in handy if you're in a cell area, of course. But if you don't have that cell phone handy, then picking up the phone to call 911 is not going to do you any good at all. You're going to have to hurry it on down the hill. You're going to have to get in your vehicle. You're going to have to flag somebody down. You're going to have to get that party medical attention immediately. It's always a good thing to do your research ahead of time, folks. Before you go camping into an area you have never camped in before, get on the phone and talk to the campground owner or find out who the local forest ranger is. Get some information about snakes that may be in that area and what to look out for. And again, of course, you can always go to our website, www.happycamperradio.com. We do have links available there. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. This week on the Happy Camper Radio Show, we're going to take you out to the state of Montana, to Swan Lake Campground. Very beautiful destination. A lot of great pictures on their website, and you can find it all week long anytime you visit our homepage, happycamperradio.com, and click on the featured campground button. This recreation area is located near the village of Swan Lake at the north end of the scenic Swan Valley in northwestern Montana. Very, very beautiful. In the heart of the Rocky Mountains lies the 2.4 million Flathead National Forest. It's home to lynx, grizzly bear, bull trout with numerous lakes, streams, rivers to enjoy. A lot of great activities and amenities are there available at the campsite. I just love the pictures that they have on their webpage. I just can't get away from them. Wow. If I was living out in Montana, I would definitely be visiting this place on a regular basis. Anglers that want to go fishing here can fish for several kinds of trout, as well as the kokanee salmon and the northern pike. Bike lanes wind throughout the campground if you want to bring your bicycle along with you. The campground has 38 family-sized campsites and large group site with paved parking areas. They have fire rinks and picnic tables, drinking water. Vault toilets are also available. Check out a lot of the amenities that they have there on their website. They have wildlife viewing, water skiing, paved roads, mountain biking, campground host, kayaking, you name it. There's a lot of good things there to see and do. Also on their website, check out several of the know before you go items, things you need to know about. Grizzly and black bears frequent the area, so all food, beverages, and coolers must be stored inside the vehicle or in approved bear-resistant containers. Check it out on our website all week long. And again, we talked about don'tmovefirewood.org. Purchase all your firewood locally. Great camping destination. Great this time of the year. Their season runs all the way through September 30th of 2015. It's the Swan Lake Campground in Montana, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, definitely get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Make sure to include a link to the campground website. Well, folks, that's about all the time I have. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and I'm definitely going to do my best to make a happy camper out of you. Have a great week, everybody. We'll catch you next week. You're listening to Happy Camper Radio.